Hello, everyone. This is Rashad Woods again with the 𝗟𝗏 podcast, the randomness of nothing. I'm honored to have enough time carved out for me with Miss Jacquelynn Wolfheart. She wears a lot of hats, and she was fortunate to give a little bit of her time to us. And I don't want to talk too much because her accomplishments obviously speak for themselves when you hear it from her. Jacquelynn, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yes, Jacquelynn Wolfheart. I live in Florida. I'm in Melbourne, Florida. Let's see. My main job is I am a psychologist. I work not exclusively, but mostly with children who have been sex trafficked. That in itself is like one of the most rewarding and most soul crushing jobs a person could have. There are times when it's like too dark for me, but I just always try to remind myself it's to help these children. Some crazy situations that we have, not me myself, but like with a team of people, we have brought down traffickers. But mostly I just help them after the children have been found. And some of the situations in which the children come to me are also infuriating. Aside from that, I also have a festival that I'm taking over. It is a media festival. So we have it does films, photography, writings of all kinds. We added podcasts to it this year.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We also added game creation to it this year, and we haven't got anybody like interested in that yet. And I'm really surprised because we have so many people out there that are interested in creating video games or creating board games, but we haven't had anybody interested in our festival as far as that goes. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That was the 4th year, I believe, of the festival so far.
It's actually this will be the 6th year. We're in our 6th year.
Okay.
I think on Film Freeway it says that we're in the 3rd year for some reason. They wouldn't let us because we updated our name. The previous owner was Wolf. It was just called the Wolf Film Festival.
Okay.
And we updated it to Media Festival, and so Film Freeway wouldn't let us tack on that we've been in business for more years than that. But yes, our website and other websites, we're on our 6th year right now.
That's fantastic. That's
fantastic.
Yeah. Obviously, I think that just hearing the beginning of the work that you do, when it comes to the child sex trafficking, I can't even put into words what a person it takes to get into a field like that, and what the things that you have seen and heard. It wrenches my heart to think that people do things like that, but unfortunately, that part of our society exists. As best you can you kind of give us a scope of how you got into that field, and kind of even some of the warning signs that because from what I've read and what I've watched, it can happen in broad daylight, like in a regular neighborhood. Like you see signs at the airports to be looking out for X, Y, and Z. I think there's a myth that it only happens in certain places, right? Or it's not happening in this community. So can you kind of give, the uneducated person in me kind of the broad overview of just that entire field of work that you're in, and kind of the warning signs, what to look out for?
Yeah, it's a crazy topic. It's a crazy subject to think of, but it is everywhere all the time. If you have children in school, anybody who's listening right now, you have children in school, I guarantee that a good chunk of the other children who are their classmates are trafficked children. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are sex trafficked children, but trafficking of some sort. Labor trafficking is a huge problem as well, but my focus is more on the sex trafficking. Yeah, I got into this business kind of, I don't even know. It just kind of, my path just grew here. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a superhero. Then so I started down that path of how can I get my superpowers, and nothing was out. No plant I ate was giving me power. Nothing I was doing was working. I wanted to be a veterinarian for a really long time. I actually think most people who knew me as a little kid are shocked that that's not the route I stuck with. As I aged, I started into medical school originally, and most of the jobs I can get when I started that path were dealing with elders, which that's great. Anybody who can do that, that's also a very tough job, but
without question.
Yeah, but I couldn't do it because so many of them are on their deathbed when somebody who's just starting out in the field, that's the patients you're getting.
Right, right.
And I'm too emotional and take it too personally if somebody passed away. It was my fault somehow, even if they're 97 years old. It's my fault.
Right.
What did I do wrong? So I rerouted myself, thinking, I always wanted to work with kids. So I changed gears and went into psychology, thinking that I would just be working with children. Hopefully, like my goal was kids who'd ran away originally. And I didn't even realize how bad trafficking was. I didn't even think that runaways was a part of trafficking.
Hmm.
And so my path kind of just led down this, like, first hooking up with people who are overcoming addictions, which was a lot of teenagers.
Right.
I did a long stint of studying and working with children with special needs. And that really actually opened my eyes to how many different fields in psychology there really are. And then somehow I just landed, I kept getting state referrals, and it happened to be kids who happened to be trafficked. But that's not why they were coming to me. They were getting referred to me because they were on probation, or they were just released from juvenile detention, something like that. And it kind of made me even more disgusted with the world, because these children were getting criminal time for being trafficked. It's not like they did something bad and got in trouble. It's they were being sexually sold to people, they were being prostituted, and they got time for that.
That's
Um,
unbelievable.
and they were getting referred to me, and I'm just like, "Ooh, I'm kind of the wrong person for that, because I'm gonna fight the system on these kids. They need to
For
come to
sure.
me, but
For
they don't
sure.
need to be getting a record for being abused. Like, that's just ridiculous." So yeah, I kind of just grew my practice from there. Like I mentioned before, I don't exclusively work with trafficked children, but that is the large majority. And because it's everywhere all the time, I unfortunately have like really good job security from it, and that's just it's disgusting. Yeah, I think where are you located?
I'm just outside of Detroit, Michigan, actually. So
Okay, so yours, it's going to be a little less where you're from. Any of the coastal areas, coastal states, those are going to be where the trafficking is the easiest and the higher chances of people
ports and
coming in and
airports.
out. Yep,
Right.
airports, all those ports. There isn't too much law over the water, so you can actually just take somebody. I could just go randomly grab somebody right now, hop in a boat, go up to New York, and like I didn't actually traffic you because there's no laws over water. It's
Oh
only
yeah.
if I drove, only if I drove through the
Interstate
state.
freeway systems, yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
So,
wow.
yeah. So and it kind of looks different everywhere, what you're looking out for in the coastal. Well, one thing I would say is a pretty common newer tactic, maybe the last 15 to 10 years, it's been a more popular tactic, is the traffickers actually don't have to do much work themselves to sell somebody else. They find, this is most common, but not the only way, but they'll
Right.
find an attractive young man who will go flirt with teenagers, and you're really mature for your age, kind of typical grooming. You should come to our party tonight. So they're getting
So he's a
teen-
victim too, in a way.
yeah, and so
Very good.
he's bringing in somebody to bring them to the party. It's usually, minor girls, sometimes minor boys, ages
Mhm.
anywhere from like 11 to 17. Those are the easy targets, sadly. Younger children, it does happen. They're not as easy targets because they're more cautious. Thankfully, they
Right.
are more afraid of strangers, so that's kind of a
Right.
benefit. But it still happens, especially if you're already in a bad situation at home. If your
For
home
sure.
is a scary life, a trafficker could be your best friend. They could be saving you from one thing only to put you in something else.
So I got a couple questions. Like, what are
Mhm.
some of the myths that people would feel like, because we watch Dateline, you watch shows, you watch TVs, and you say, well, it only happens in this income neighborhood, it only happens to this demographic, or this location. It couldn't happen in XYZ subdivision with XYZ amenities located around it. So that's obviously not true if it's happening as widespread as you say that it is. Like, just I guess I'm just trying to break down what people should look for in their everyday lives, and you know I'm speechless about this topic.
Yeah, it's really hard to narrow down exactly what to look for, but it is going to be in all sorts of neighborhoods, all classes, especially when you're talking as trafficking as a whole and not just sex trafficking. But you're going to want to look out for people who don't speak English. A
Hmm.
lot of times they didn't come here by choice.
Right,
And
right,
they're not given the opportunity to learn our language,
yeah,
or sorry, the American most common language of
correct,
English. They're not given that opportunity because it's control and power. If you can speak to anybody around you, then you can let them know you need help. So we're
right,
gonna limit your ability to learn more languages to communicate. Um, Anybody who seems like they don't belong. I know that sounds so like such a negative way to say it, but if you see somebody who looks like they're struggling and they're in a well-off area, most likely they don't want to be there.
right.
You are looking for, um,
Someone
and you
reserved, not talkative, or something like that.
right. If they look like they don't want to be there, it's probably for a reason. And that goes for any age.
Right,
And some of it, sometimes you might not even realize that you are trafficking someone or participating in trafficking. Again, this is not with the sex trafficking, but
right. Just as a
if I
whole.
go on Craigslist and I'm like, I need a house cleaner, I might be hiring somebody myself
Right,
who is not here by choice and who is, coming and cleaning my house, and I'm happy
right,
about it and I love the work they do and they're so sweet and they're so perfect, and they're going home to their, something more dangerous. They are fighting for their life. Every dollar I give them is, another minute of their life that they've earned basically.
right.
Yeah, so sometimes you can participate and you don't even realize it. So,
Unwillingly, even a restaurant or something like that, right? Who,
yes.
so it does, and you have a compelling story, and but this hit me really hard when you really, this is a topic that I think any reasonable person would just stop them in their tracks when they hear what the work that you do. Um, my question is like you go to the airport and they say, look for people who have their head down, look for people who aren't talkative, but that also can be a hindrance too because a lot of kids don't talk to strangers. We're
Mhm.
talking right. A lot of kids are taught not to do that. And do you find any correlation too when it comes to people who have, and I mean this in a sensitive way, who could have criminal records later in life or issues with the law who were in those situations earlier in life, and then you find out when they're 17, 18, 19, they have substance abuse problems and other things, and then you
Oh,
find out their
goodness.
background and their past, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is why this person has these issues in life.
Yeah. It's really common, especially more so with people who have been sexually abused or sexually trafficked, is that they are gonna have bigger records, or struggle with addictions more. Um, People who are trafficked in non-sexual ways, they might get records more related to like something like stealing,
Yeah, theft or
theft.
something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's usually very minor some things too. It's not like they're out stealing your cars or breaking in your house and just taking all your jewelry or something. It's
Right,
going to
right,
be
right.
really minor survival things that they get caught for. And sometimes, luxury things. We don't really have CDs nowadays, but it'd be like something like a CD. That's a luxury
Right,
item that they don't need,
right.
but it's minor. It's not,
Yeah.
not.
Smart TV or something like that of that nature. Right.
Yeah. So they're going after the minor things and typically survival things, shampoos, deodorants, food, and like real small foods too. I stole an apple, and
Right.
now you're banned from the store because you got caught stealing
How much are
food.
the resources available to combat something like this? Because you'll watch a documentary, you watch Dateline, and then they have like the text afterwards, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, this is 1,800 people go missing a day in the United States, et cetera, et cetera." I mean, are there state budgets and their resources and officers and other units available to really combat this problem on a minute by minute, second by second basis?
I wish I mean, but that goes with so many different things that there just really isn't enough resources and funding. Thankfully, most of my funding that I get does come from systems like Medicaid.
Right.
Um, so that's probably where most of my funding comes from. So it is not a high paying job for me.
Of course not.
Like
I
most
got
of it almost is like my insurance clients
right.
cover
Right.
what they pay ends up covering so I can take on 2 or 3 other clients.
I think what you do on that work is incredible. And I can only imagine some of the stories you've heard. I'm sure I would go to cry. I don't consider myself much of a crier. I'd cry every night if I had to do that. I really would,
Yeah, it's hard, and there are times where I am like that. I have definitely I can't necessarily call them weaker moments, but I do have my moments where today hit me hard and it's going to affect me for a month. Some examples that have like still stick with me. This was probably about 3 years ago. I had 2 very young children. I had a 3 and a 4-year-old sibling set who came to me. They were set on fire and hung out a window. And that one, I'm about to tear up now. It is still like something that you don't. It's not something that you get over seeing. It's not in like, how are you supposed to teach that child that the world can be safe again when they are struggling? And
oh my God.
Yeah, and they're just little babies, and I think how can anybody even want to do anything to something so sweet and so innocent?
That's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and then their traffickers, some of their traffickers, they had one person trafficking them, which was a family member, but they had multiple visitors. And the person who was trafficking them they got 6 months probation.
You gotta be kidding me.
Which they were not the one who set the children on fire, but they knew that it was part of whoever purchased them for the day. But they looked at that person as a victim as well. And to me, I get it. I know that their victims can go and cause harm to the next person, but you still need to own up to what you did, and you still need to be held accountable for what you did. And in my opinion, that's one that still, it hits me so hard because only 6 months probation, not even jail time.
Yeah. There's some words I want to use that I'm going to hold off on saying because, I want to be conscious of the audience that's going to be receiving this, but I think everybody, who has a pulse in their body can understand how disgusting that is. That's repulsive. There's no words for it. Last question about this. Has the internet helped you guys at all when it comes to, social media? Almost everybody has a cell phone. There's more attention to this. Like there's more television shows, documentaries, etc. about this. So have you found any assistance just by the fact that people can be more communicative than they would have been, 25 years ago, even 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, so we broke up a little bit there, but I think I got your question for the most part. I would say the internet has helped and made things worse at the same time. And
Really?
same with all types of media. Having children being able to, not even just children, but people being able to contact each other and catfish each other constantly. Right. You're accidentally thinking you made a friend and oversharing personal information, details about your life with this person that you just made a connection with. And, most of the time it is somebody just awesome. I never met you before, but I'm assuming that you're awesome and not going to cause me harm.
Appreciate that.
And that's the case with most of the time. But there is going to be that one person who is out there doing bad things and going to be able to lure kids, going to be able to trick people into this, that, or the other. And that comes in forms of, I have a job for you. It's not always just like, oh, you're really cool, let's meet up. But it's like, hey, I found this really cool job for you that you might be good at. And then boom, your life is forever changed in the negative.
For sure.
TV shows and things like that. I can't say there's like a show out there that's made it worse, but because they only show these very theatrical versions of it, it's not people in a train cart,
Right.
That's not saying that doesn't happen, but that's the rarest form of it happening.
It's somebody sitting at Coney Island, right? It's somebody walking into Publix, right? And you pass them right by while you're getting all your grocery goods, and you're on your phone, you're trying to deal with your kid in your cart, and you could have walked right past them the entire time.
Yep. So it's out in your face all the time, and you don't know. And I feel like it's weird that I forget to mention this all the time, but the LGBTQ community is very heavily hit. Minorities are very heavily hit. as well, because I hate to say it, but they are kind of unwanted in our mainstream society. So when parents are, telling their queer child that we don't want you here, where else are they
They're
supposed
left
to
to the
go?
wolves. They're left to the
Yes.
they're left to the and there and there's other things that can come with that. They can get caught up in the wrong group of people, and there can be other things that can subsequently come from that, and that's absolutely tragic and horrible.
Yep.
It's very it's definitely something that when I saw your biography, and I saw you have the PhD, I saw you do great work with kids, so you have a list of things, and I was just blown away by that one in particular because it tugged at my heart. I'm a father of 3 daughters, so there's nothing more that needs to be said other than these people are monsters. They're awful people, and the world can be it's a beautiful place at times. But then when you hear stuff like that, it stops you in your tracks. It really, really does.
It really does.
And there's no words for that. So just to pivot a little bit, can you tell me a little bit? How did you get involved with film and acting and modeling? Like I said, you wear dozens of hats, and I'm just stunned that you have time for all this.
So thankfully a lot of that is when I was younger. When my modeling, I will say, was when I was younger, and I mean, it's been probably about 15 years since the last time I've done a professional modeling thing. But it's gotten me, man, that got me places, that let me get my degree, that paid for my degree.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so awesome. And I was a single mom for some of that time. I mean, I started modeling before I became a mom, but I did it sometime after too. And single mom, and I only had to work on weekends, kind of thing, and it was awesome for being a mom. And yeah, so, and then I was in music videos back in the day as well, and that kind of just cool. Opened. Say that again.
I said that's really cool. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was super fun. Like, some of my best memories are doing that stuff. Man, if I could just be young again and redo that stuff. For sure. Yeah, so it just opened a lot of doors and let me know, like, kept possibilities open. Like, you really have to keep your brain open to not thinking you have to stay in your lane the whole time, and how can I get out and do these other creative things I want to do. So go ahead.
I was going to say, well, it's funny you mentioned that, just because, that's one of the reasons I started the podcast. You kind of get programmed that you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z on a day-by-day basis. And then you realize that, take a risk. Like, it took me forever just to start this. And then when people started reaching out to me, I was like, wow, people are actually interested in talking to me, which is kind of odd, because, you feel like a kid again. You're like, oh, Jacquelynn wants to talk to me. What do I say? Right.
Yeah.
So what helped me was knowing that I generally was curious about other topics. I'll go down the Wikipedia wormhole, the YouTube wormhole, and I'll stay on that and just find out thing after thing after thing. And my mind kind of keeps running. And so, knowing that you did this and you put your hat in many things, it stunned me. You have a PhD, you're a model, actress, you won awards, for some of the films that you made, Abduction Chronicles. You said, I saw that, it's a 2-hour first person film on abduction. Can you just go into detail about that film?
Yeah, that film actually is the story of, it actually led me to buying the Wolf Media Festival, which I'm not officially the owner yet, but I'm still in the process of purchasing this festival. But that is the true story of a few of my clients who came to me as children and now are adults, and they wanted to share their story, and we kind of talked about different ways that they can get their story out there, public speaking, things like that. And it's like a personal story that they're not comfortable sharing with the world themselves, but it's a story they felt should be told. So we talked about maybe a book would be a good way, and we kind of landed on the idea of writing a horror film. Now, it's not horror in the traditional sense of what horror films are, but it is a scary movie based on true things that happened in their lives. So we tried to, super creepy. Like, it's not a slasher guy just staring, sneaking up behind you when you're in the mirror or whatever. It is real life horror. And so we filmed it the most realistic way we can think of, using security cameras, using dash cams, using we actually use cell phone a lot of times to shoot things. So it is like a found footage type film. It is based on real stories, but it is not actually real. This is actors paid to do this.
Montage of events.
Yes, and the actors we used for this film were I didn't know this when I was booking, but I was looking for the right people, and almost everybody that we picked for the film had been trafficked or something along those lines. So yeah, if anybody wants to go check out one, she had a small role in the film. She was Mrs. South Africa a few years back, but she was in our film, and her husband was kidnapped and held for ransom. He was the only survivor. He's a photographer, a videographer for sports and things like that. And the bus he was on, everybody got held for ransom, and he is the only survivor. So she has a book out. She does public speaking. She was often on the other end of the phone, hearing people getting murdered, wondering if that's her husband.
My God.
So yeah, so she's one who's very open and out with the trauma her family experienced. That's why I bring her up. But almost everybody in my film has trauma like that, has been involved in trafficking of some sort or kidnapping of some sort. And that was just by pure coincidence. They gave me the right vibe that they could handle this project. And then they come out to me sharing their stories. And I was like, okay, well, I can really tell when people have this.
And married together. So, so just stay on this topic a bit. Are there resources for people as they transition to adulthood? Because it seems a lot of programs stop when somebody's 18 or 21, and then it's kind of like you're on your own. But what forever amount of time that took place in somebody's life, that's a lifetime worth of pain.
Right.
So are people kind of left for themselves at a certain age period?
In general, like, not to sound like there's no hope, but in general, I would say yes. There are programs you can get into that can help, but your chances of getting qualified for it, no matter what your backstory is so limited. Unfortunately, there are some programs that are very helpful, but not for you as a person emotionally. For example, you can get scholarships to go to college, which is awesome and amazing, and you do have a high chance of qualifying for that scholarship. But that's not going to fix you and undo the damage that was caused to you. And those are the things that you just age out of eventually. You just age out of. I will say this too, is although I do think trafficking happens to women more, they also have more resources for women. So men kind of get screwed over a little bit there. You turn 18 and it's just like, good luck with you. But I guess thankfully it happens less to men, but still they need just as much or more support than women do. So your best chance, it's a little bit scary because I don't even know if I want to say this part, but churches are often involved in trafficking, but they're also often involved in
rehabilitation
yes. So it's really like a scary toss up of what you're going to get into. I would go, if you were looking for help, I wouldn't reach out to a church directly. I would reach out to a program that is affiliated with the church. They're going to have better resources for you. The church might lead you down a dark road that you're not wanting to go down. And I hate to say that because I do think churches do wonderful things. They just also have their bad sides as well. So
I think that your experience kind of can speak for, that better than I could, as far as on that topic. I think more importantly is that, you need to go to somebody qualified. Anybody who's listening to this, I think I would encourage them to, at least from my little knowledge on this topic, would be that there are resources that can help you out there, because I can't even begin to imagine what some people are going through. But I think the most important thing is somebody like Jacquelynn would be much more qualified to help on this topic. But more importantly, when it comes to recovery, I mean, there's some success stories that you hear about, and you hear people that actually have transitioned to better places in life. So out of, you can triumph out of tragedy as well too. And it seems like you've had some people that have been successful, that have come from some really dark places. Are you willing to speak on any of that?
Yeah, I would say, not to brag too much, but I'd say most of my clients are success stories. If especially if they have been with me into adulthood, really turn their lives around, really get to good places. And I have clients who didn't necessarily stay with me for a long time, or they were still children when they left me, but reached back out to me as adults and let me know they're doing well. I wish I could give really clear examples, but I don't want to out
Privacy,
anybody as.
for sure.
But
For
yeah,
sure.
I have moms weren't moms when I met them,
Right.
and they're living their lives, and sometimes they just have questions. They're fearful that what happened to them will happen to their children, so they're pretty proactive. And
Okay.
um
Good.
yeah, we
Good.
have lots of them. Unfortunately, I do think the males who come to me, I would say they're less likely to succeed, because
There's got to be shame
society.
involved with guys too. I hate to say
Yeah,
that. I mean,
for
not
most guys, it is. Our society is really disgusting, and it's almost like you're supposed to be bragging about what you've done, not for men.
right.
And
Right.
an 8-year-old getting sexually assaulted by other men, sometimes women, that's not something that they should be proud of, but it's also not something that they should feel shameful of. It's something that happened to them, but
Right.
society wants them to just get over it. Just get
Right. And
over it, and emotionally they can't. So, well, I do think I have quite a list of very successful men who've come to me, and little boys who've come to me and grown up to very successful men. I do say where my failure is that I don't know how to help them past a certain point. I can't change society on my own,
right.
and everybody just kind of needs to listen to me. I'm a mom, and I know what I'm talking about. Treat just everybody. If we all just treated each other like with love and kindness, then the world would be
Long
so
way.
much better in general. And you know, boys have emotions and feelings too, and they don't deserve to have bad things happen to them. So help them with kindness.
Right. No, the great work you're doing. I know your time is valuable. I just have a couple more things I wanted to go over with you. It looks like you're an author too, as well too. I saw you wrote a number of books. I'm going on Amazon. I'm like PhD, author, movies, director, film festival CEO, mother. I'm like, listen, I'm a father, and I can't even begin to imagine putting my toes in all those things. So, talk a little bit about the books you wrote.
Yeah, so I have like a couple of poems that I wrote that I turned into like bedtime stories for children. So those ones are emotional, but they're 10 pages long. They're nothing major. I do have a longer book. It's called The Adventures of Lux and Fox.
Yeah,
Actually, that's not what it's called. I can't even think of what it's called. The Fearless Fox. There we go. But my youngest son is named Lux and Fox Wolfheart, and it's
that's a
based on
dope name.
him. And thank you. And he, it's based on him and overcoming anxieties and fears, and ways that he's doing that with the help of his friend Wander. So it is a children's bedtime story, but it has um, a lot of what's the words I'm looking for? It teaches a lot of therapeutic methods that
Okay.
kids can use,
Okay.
to overcome certain things. Now,
Okay.
my son, he doesn't actually, for whatever reason, he was born with more bravery than any any kid should ever have.
Yeah.
But we did talk about some things that he's afraid of and things that might sound scary in his brain, and we kind of developed the story on how we get overcome those things. And I think a big lesson in the end of that particular story is we got the fox and his friend rabbit, and the rabbit seems like he's brave the whole time, but at the very end he admits that the entire time he was also afraid,
Oh wow.
but that because they were doing things together, it made
Right.
him be able to overcome. And I think it's really important to understand that we both can be scared,
Of
but if we
course.
both believe we can do it, then we can do it. And that camaraderie really helps people go to the next level, go to the next step of whatever
For
they're
sure.
working on. So, but
For
yeah,
sure.
it's I would say it's a nighttime book because it's kind of long for just a children's. You're not just going to sit down and read a 10-minute book. Yeah.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's a good one to fall asleep to or read to at night. It's about 80 pages, I think, long. and it's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. We worked on the artwork for like 2 years before
That's
coming
dope.
out with that, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
awesome.
I think I might want to pick one of those up off of Amazon. I saw them available for you. I'm like, you know what? I need to read more. I'm trying to find more. I'm an Audible kind of guy, right? Like I like to
Oh,
listen,
same,
right?
same.
It just helps me more. I can listen to it while I'm driving and things like that. So I got to tell you, like you also did roller derby, and you have you're a guinea pig owner too.
A guinea pig sanctuary, yeah. I
Okay,
have a guinea
okay.
pig sanctuary.
Talk to somebody who knows nothing about that at all. How'd you get into guinea
Which one? Roller derby or
both,
guinea
both,
pig?
both of them?
Um, yeah, so I've played roller derby for about 12 years now. I actually have a broken hip at the moment, so I'm not playing. Unrelated to roller derby though.
Yeah, yeah.
I did break my neck playing roller derby though. That was my first year of roller derby, and the
Jeez.
anxiety trying to come back after that was heavy for years.
Can I just ask real quick, what is the goal? Like, I know nothing about roller derby, like literally nothing. I've just seen like, videos and they've been like movies about it. What is the actual objective of the sport?
Yeah, so it's a point-based sport, so
Okay.
winner gets the most points. You have one person who will have a star on their helmet. They are the
Yeah.
ones who can score the points, and they score points by lapping the other team's players. So you're
Okay.
going to have 4 players trying to stop the other team's star helmet. That's called the jammer. And then you're
Okay.
going to have the jammer. And so you're trying to get your jammer through while stopping their jammer, basically.
Oh no.
It can get very brutal.
Right.
The most popular is WIFTA, Women's Flat Track Roller Derby Association. That is worldwide. There's thousands and thousands of teams, and we do compete against each other, which is wonderful and beautiful in itself.
Right.
But there's smaller leagues like renegade leagues, and those ones are the ones that you get punched in the face, that you get elbowed in the face, that you get drop kicked, that you get. It is wrestling. It is professional wrestling. This is
Right.
WWE style wrestling on skates with the
Yeah.
same goal of get your jammer through and stop their jammer.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, it's a brutally fun sport. It also is a really great community. It's a good
Yeah.
outlet for people who can't afford therapy. Go play roller derby. There is men's derby as well.
Right.
Much less. I feel like it really almost died off after COVID. I don't know of too many men's teams, and there are co-ed teams. So there are
Okay.
teams that are both men, women, and other on there. So yeah, in my guinea pig sanctuary, we take in sick, unwanted, unhealthy, dying guinea pigs,
Yeah.
and we give them. They stay with us forever. They're not always that way. Sometimes let me take that back. They don't always stay with us forever, but we don't rehome and we don't breed. But we do
Right.
have some where we have veterans who are maybe being sent overseas.
Right.
Their guinea pig can come stay with us, and when they get back, they can take their pet
For
back.
sure.
But
For
everybody
sure.
else, like we have very sick piggies come through. We have one that's in a wheelchair right now, and she's so
Wait.
stinking. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to. I've seen dogs like that. They lost the use of their legs and they have like the wheels that are, making the movement. They have the front
Mhm.
paws, the back paws. There's a wheelchair for a guinea pig.
There is wheelchairs for guinea pigs. It's a custom made, of course. It's not like you could just go buy one at the store or anything. But yeah, it's a
Right. Right.
custom made. We had. Oh, I wish I could remember who the person was, but it was an artist who actually made it and 3D printed it for us. And
Wow.
so we have her, and I mean we have 26 right now, and it's amazing. When I started I thought I just love guinea pigs. They're so cute, and I'm gonna get a
Right.
lay in a pile of guinea pigs, and it's gonna make my heart so happy. But really, it's just cleaning up poop nonstop and feeding. They're always screaming, "Feed me, feed me, feed me!"
Right.
But
Right.
it is wonderful. We do let previous owners, as long
Yeah.
as they weren't taken for abuse reasons, we do let them come visit their guinea
For
pig
sure.
too. So, yeah, we just try to we try to do updates on our website, although it's been a while since we've done
Yeah.
that. But yeah, photo shoots, like it's a fun time. It really is fun, and they're so sweet and so cute.
I got that one blew my mind because I'm like, well, of course she does that. She does everything else, right?
I
So
have a dream that someday I will have enough property that we could do the same kind of thing for dogs, where veterans who maybe are getting sent overseas or military members who are getting sent overseas, they can leave their dog with us until they get, or, you know, their pet with us until they get back. I dream of that, but right now we're not quite set up for something like that. But
understood. For anybody who's listening right now, if they wanted, we talked earlier about your film festival. I don't want to take up too much of your time again. How could they get involved with your festival? You sent me information, but for somebody who's listening right now who wants to get into media, games, podcasting, television, etc., how would they get involved with your festival?
yes, so the easiest way is just going to wolfmediafest.com, checking it out there. You can submit your projects. Our biggest submissions is that we do get films, but there's also the biggest, like, we are IMDb accredited. We do help larger festivals select, like, the, you know, what films will be winning for the year. Like
Right,
𝐾ANES comes to us for like suggestions and such.
right,
Um, so they can go there. They can also email me. It's mostly me who answers the emails at admin@wolfmediafest.com if they have any questions. It's going to be a fun-filled weekend. There's a giant banquet, awards banquet on April 18th coming this year, followed by a prom. I call it the prom, which is just an after party of mingling and
right,
networking and having fun. Then there will be 2 days of festival. So that'll be getting to check out authors, talk to actors, talk to filmmakers, screen films, try new games if we get games. Uh, hopefully, fingers crossed.
yeah.
There'll be vendor booths galore, so you can check out smaller crafters. Hopefully, we'll have podcasts. I hope yours comes.
Thank you.
Podcasters there who can do live podcasting. Yeah, it should be a real fun weekend. We have lots and lots of things planned to keep kids entertained and kids
Of course,
happy.
of course.
Because it does happen to fall on Easter this year, so
Oh,
we
geez.
yeah, which we didn't know that when we got our
No, no.
venue and stuff, but so it's
Who looks that
that
man say
Sunday is Easter. Yeah, so I was like, oh no, but we made this. It's gonna be awesome Easter day for sure for anybody who attends.
that's dope. That's dope. So any questions from me? Like, I was fortunate enough to get your time. I know we just exchanged a little bit over messages. Is there any questions you have for me before we wrap this up for you?
Oh
And again,
yeah,
thank you so much for
I
your time.
I know I read over stuff when we were first getting in contact and stuff, but I'm really still curious, like, where your heart is with your podcast project. Like, where are you
Yeah,
hoping to go with this? And I mean, I
remote.
listened to some episodes and
Yeah.
you're I feel like you have I don't know, I feel like you have good vibes going
You,
forward.
well, the thing for me, honestly, was, I'm the type of person that on a Saturday would just watch like the Discovery Channel, would watch
Mm,
like the History Channel, would watch a random documentary, and it could be, I'm of the belief that if it's quality, I'll watch it. Even something like there was a history of America on like Discovery Channel, and it's just like, who built America, how these fast foods, and it just went on and on and on. And I would find myself for 5 and 6 hours just watching item after item. Who had this railroad get built? How'd this, how'd the Eiffel Tower get built? And all these things, that just kept, coming across that interest me. And then finally, you have to put your thoughts into action, right? I'm the person that if you see me at a barbecue, they'd be like, dude, what movie did you quote? How did you know that random stupid fact, right? And so finally it kind of came to me where I said, why not just call it the Tron podcast, the randomness of nothing,
yep,
where
it
I just want
works
to
out
talk to
perfect.
people, you know what I mean, who know what they're talking about, who are a lot smarter than me, you know, that I want to pick their brain for 30 minutes, 25 minutes, an hour, and just say, tell me about your field of work. What do you know? How'd you get into this? And so I've been fortunate enough that people have been reaching out to me because I think I'm coming across as genuine.
Yes, I agree. I know you're still pretty new at this, but you're really good already. You have
I
like the
appreciate that.
ear and the brain for this, and it shows. So
I can't thank you enough for that. The most important thing is I think I had to learn to stop talking as much, because I like to talk. And I had to do more listening. So for people who are interested on being on the show, I want to pick your brain. I have no biases. I come in with an open mind, and your field of work, whether it's and you transition from happy to sad and manage it really well when it comes to everything
thank you.
that you do. And that's a heck of a dichotomy that you have. You know,
it's hard to do some days, but you have to. It's the only way you can survive is you have to be able to get back to the good. Remind yourself of the good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Jacquelynn, I want to thank you so much for your time. If you have any other people that are interested still being on this show, you know, if you find anybody that wants to reach out, I want to pick their brain because I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm not the smartest person in my household. So the most important thing is I'm just searching for knowledge and want to ask smart people questions.
Absolutely. I'll send some people your way for sure.
I would love to. And I look forward to trying to get into your festival as well, too. So I thank you so much for your time and the work that you do. I would love to be able to broadcast that more so that way people who are struggling or those situations that we talked about earlier have resources that they can reach out to. So I'd like to continue that conversation to try to help with that, too.
Yes, I appreciate that.
I really mean that. I really mean that, too, because I have 3 daughters and I can't even begin to imagine, you know, something happened to them.
Yeah.
It just breaks my heart. So
it's the only time I feel like violence is okay.
Yeah, you know, and it's necessary. You know, I would make use of martial arts.
Yeah, same.
Oh, you did do martial arts?
I did, yes.
MMA. What'd you do? What style?
I did karate, kung fu, and judo. I have black belts in all of them, but
you gotta be kidding me. Wow. I saw MMA, but I didn't get a detail of it. You have a black belt in judo?
Yes, but I earned those all when I started when I was young, and then I took a long break from like age 20 to 28. I didn't do anything, and then when I was 28, started getting back into MMA again, and now I haven't done MMA in a while, but
you and I are gonna get along really well. We're gonna talk.
I agree. I know.
I have a brown, like just real quick. I have a brown belt in Taekwondo. I have a black belt in Tung Sudo, and I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I do Muay Thai. And just a real quick anecdote, the first time I did judo was the most humbling experience of my entire life. I was 20.
The team wrestling stuff, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, if you come from a striking background, I boxed for a little bit too, but when you come from a striking background, you have no idea what you're going to get into when you go down there on that ground. Mm-hmm. And I was at Michigan State, and they had a judo club. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to, you know, I did Taekwondo for all those years. And I was like, I'm going to do my last semester. I want to learn what this art is all about. And I'll never forget it. Came in, put my white belt on. And there's a guy about 160 pounds, kind of looked like a Peter Parker kind of guy. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go with him. Yeah, he's my size. Turns around, puts his brown belt on. And my eyes got like, oh, this is about to end poorly for me. I'm keeping that PG. And I had about the next 5-minute whooping I ever took in my entire life from that guy. And I was like, oh, this is a different beast down here.
Yeah, it is wrestling. It is, if you have anybody anybody listening, if you have a high schooler or a middle schooler who wants to get into high school wrestling, put them in judo. They will be the winner.
𝐏𝐸𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, God bless his soul.
Yeah, I did Muay Thai a little bit when I was in my late 20s. And I think my judo, I felt like judo and kung fu really, like, it was a nice mix. But that's kind of, if you're gonna fight MMA, Muay Thai is the way to learn. It's the way to train, I think.
We'll be taking.
No. I'm so jealous of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, though. I've always wanted to. I feel like you have to be so, like, almost a gymnast at the same time as a martial artist for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm jealous of that.
It's a humbling sport. You know, grappling as a whole taxes your cardio in some ways that striking doesn't. So as long as somebody takes something, at the end of the day, I say this really quickly to anybody who's listening. You never have to worry about beating the person in the dojo that you train in. You just have to beat the out of shape person that messes with you.
Right. That's true. That is true, though. Those are the ones you're gonna want to fight anyways.
Right. You're never gonna worry about facing the judo black belt like Jacquelynn in real life. So you are awesome. I'm so appreciative of your time, and I hope that we discuss a lot further. I can't thank you for the time that you've given.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Take it easy. Yep. Bye.